Welcome to Linux Implementation and Administration Practice. I'm already logged on here to Blackboard and I just want to show you a few of the sections that I put together. The first thing you want to do is check the syllabus, which basically talks about the class and all the different sections and all the class schedule and the weekly assignments and the different topics that we're going to cover throughout the semester. We also have announcements, so I will post announcements on a weekly basis of things that are going on in the class and things that are coming up. Then each week you're going to have an assignment, and this assignment is going to be worth 4 points. And if you go to the assignment section, you will see what the assignment is for the week. You can also go to the discussion board, and each week you'll have a new posting to do. Right now I put one for week 1, and you can see week 1 discussion. And I can see that already 9 people have posted. And I also have a forum called Students Questions, Comments, and Suggestions, where you can go in and ask a question about any topic or any subject related to the class, and I'll try to answer as soon as I can, or I open it up also for other students that to respond. Under course documents, I will put weekly PDF notes of the topics that we're covering during the week, and you should read those prior to doing the assignment, and those will help you in completing the assignment. Under necessary software, I have compiled a list of packages that we're going to use throughout the semester, and I'm going to quickly go over these. First, not this week, but starting next week, we're going to use virtual machines. And each of you is going to have a virtual machine environment in which you're going to install Linux, and then from then on you're going to complete the assignments on your virtual machine Linux installations. So when you connect from home, if it's outside the UIS network, you will need to VPN to campus, because our server, which is csc570e.uis.edu, it's only available if you're inside the UIS network. If you come from the internet, you won't be able to access it. So you first have to VPN to campus. So you must install the VPN client, and if you're using Vista, you need to install this version, the 5.0, which works with Vista environments. Then to access your virtual machine, you will have to install on your terminal, on your computer, on your PC, the VMware console software, which is basically the VMware client that allows you to connect to a virtual machine. Once you install it, you can connect to your virtual machine and use it. Here I just opened the client, and I'm going to quickly show you how you would do this. You don't have to do this next week, but this is for next week. The host name is going to be csc570e.uis.edu, and that's going to be the host name for the entire semester, where all the virtual machines are going to be hosted. The username is going to be your UISnet ID, and the password is going to be your campusnet ID password. And then you connect, and then under inventory you should see a virtual machine with the name of your net ID. If you don't see it there, you can go to File, Open, and Browse, and under /VMs you should find a directory with your net ID, and you can just double click on it. So for me, I would find my name and go inside there. So I'm just going to use this one as an example, and this is the configuration file. So then you click that. I actually don't have permission to that one, but if it was mine, it would show up like this. And then to start the virtual machine, I would just click the play button here, and that would start my virtual machine. And from there it's like booting a computer. From there I can install the OS. Okay, so I'm going to close that now, and I'm going to go back to Blackboard and the necessary software. And another tool that we're going to use throughout the semester is PuTTY. And PuTTY is basically a Windows client. When you have a Linux machine out there, the easiest way to connect is through SSH, which is basically the Telnet protocol, but in an encrypted mode. So PuTTY basically is a client to connect to the OpenSSH server running on the Linux server, and from there you can basically run any command and do anything on the machine that you would like. VNC is another way to connect to our Linux server, and VNC actually lets you run programs that have Windows-based, Windows-based applications. From PuTTY, you can only run command line terminal commands that have no graphical interface. With VNC, you can actually connect and run command line interface. I mean, Windows type programs with graphical interfaces. I put here the Flash player, which you might need, and then also iTunes. Basically, every week I'm going to create a video cast or a vodcast, which is basically a video showing you how to complete the assignment or giving you clues on how to complete the assignments. And those I'm going to post under course documents. And these will reside in iTunes University, iTunes U, and of course you will need iTunes to be able to connect and view them. Now, if you have a iPod, then you can subscribe to the podcast and then sync up your iPod to your computer connected to the internet, and that will download the video automatically to your iPod, and then you can view the video and listen to it from your iPod. Okay, now my grades, you can view your grades, and external links are just certain sites that I use throughout the semester for different topics that you can read more about the different topics. Okay, so that's our Blackboard. And now I'm going to show you, once you download PuTTY, which is under necessary software, which is, like I said, is the SSH client for the Windows SSH client, you can actually connect to our server. And I've created shell accounts, which are basically accounts that allow you to connect to the server. And each of you should have a shell account already. And for this week, you're going to have to connect using your NetID and password, and you will connect to the server using OpenSSH or the SSH client PuTTY. And from there, on your home directory, you're going to have to create 2 files and use VI or another editor to make changes to these files. So let me show you how you're going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to open PuTTY, and here's PuTTY. Once you download it, you just run it, and you get this interface here. And then the name of the server is csc570e.uis.edu. The port is the default OpenSSH port, which is 22, and the protocol, of course, is SSH. So the big thing here to remember is, again, the server throughout the semester that we're going to use is csc570e.uis.edu. If you're on campus, you're okay. If you're outside campus, you'll need to VPN first. So we'll go ahead and click open. And that will ask me to log in. So to log in, you will do your NetID. So mine is tlos1, and then my password. Okay, and that logs me in. Okay, and this puts me at my home directory. And if you do pwd, this command will tell you where you are. And this tells me that I'm in the directory /home/tlos1. Now, in Linux systems, and we'll talk more about this later, everything starts at the slash. So this is like, for a Windows system, would be the C drive. The slash is the top, the root file system, and where all the other systems start from. And in my case, my home directory resides in /home. So if I cd to /, you will see that there is a directory here called home, which is right here. And if I cd home and I do an ls there, I will see that everybody else has a directory here. Okay, and these are your home directories from where you're going to work. So like I said, Linux starts at the slash, and in Linux, all different, basically everything is a file in Linux. So your drivers are files, your socket files are files, and if you want to see what different types of files you have, you can do a man on the find command, and then do a search for socket, and then here you can see the different types of files that you have in Linux. You have block devices, you have character devices, you have directories, you have name pipes, you have regular files, you have symbolic links, you have socket files, and door, which I think is a Solaris type of file. So these are all the types of files that you have, and it's very important that you learn how to use an editor, because since everything is a file, you're gonna have to edit files most of the time to configure different systems. So it's very important that you get very good with an editor and you learn how to use an editor. And the 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 most common editor in Unix and Linux systems is VI. Some people prefer Emacs, which can be a little bit easier to use, but I think I'm gonna push for everybody to learn VI, because you will find that no matter where you go, the systems will always have VI, where Emacs, a few systems have them, a few systems don't, and VI is really powerful and you can do a lot of things with VI. So I'm gonna show you how to use VI quickly here. To open VI, you will do VI and week1.txt. That's just a file that I have in my home directory, which you will use for your assignment this week. And so let's go to that. And that just opens up this file, okay? And VI has two different modes, command mode and insert mode. In command mode, you can do different things. You can you can search and replace, you can search for different things on the file, you can go to a different line on the file, while in insert mode, you can actually insert and edit the file. And I'll show you how to go to those two commands. Let me first go back to my browser and show you this website that I have in the notes for this week. And in this website, you will see the different commands that you can run on a Linux system. Okay? And if you want to learn more about a command, you can just click on it and this will show you what it does and the different parameters it takes and that type of thing. I'm going to actually click on VI, okay? And this is a really good tutorial here, okay? Here it shows you that for VI, to insert text, you can press the letter I, and to append text at the end of the line, you can press the letter A. So let's take a look at that and see how you do that. So to insert text, I can press the letter I for insert, and now if you see, now it's changed it to insert mode, and I can start typing. So I can type my name is, okay? Now to get out of insert mode, you can press escape, and now you're no longer in insert mode and you're in command mode. Now if you want to go to the end of the line, you can and start typing there in insert mode, you can do Shift A, and that puts you at the end of the line and puts you in insert mode. And that's what this says here, append text at the end of the line. Okay? Like I said, to get out of command mode, you can press escape, and that puts you in. To get out of insert mode, you can press escape, and that puts you back in command mode. Now, cursor movement. This version of VI that comes in Linux systems is actually the VIM, or an enhanced version of VI, and they've done some cool things to it to make it easier, and you can actually use your arrow keys to move up and down. But if you don't have that enhanced VI in other systems, you could use the letters H, J, K, and L to move left, down, up, and right. Okay. Now to delete a character, in command line mode, you can press X to delete one letter, or you can press DD to delete an entire line. So let's take a look at that. Or you can press capital D to delete current to the end of the line. So let's try those three. So I'm going to escape to go back to command line mode. And if I want to delete the M, I can just press X, and that deletes the current. If I keep pressing X, it'll just keep deleting. See? If I want to delete this whole line, I can press DD, and that deletes the entire line. See? I kept doing. Now, if I want to delete from here on out, I can press Shift D, and that deletes from there to the end of the line. Okay, so that's how you delete. Now to copy, things you need to know is how to copy a line, which is YY, how to paste the line that you just copied, which is P, and how to search. To search is just slash and the string to go forward, or question mark and the string to go backwards. So let's take a look at that. So if I want to search for dev, I put if I want to search for there's too many devs, so I'm going to search for MD7. Okay, to search for MD7 I put slash MD7 and I hit enter, and boom, that puts me right here and it tells me that there's an MD7 right there. Now if I wanted to go back and see if there's an MD7 from here up, I would do question mark MD7 enter, and it tells me that there is none. Okay. Now let's copy and paste. To copy a line, to yank a line, you do YY, and that copies the line. And then to paste it, you go down where you want to paste it, and you press the letter P, and that will paste it right there. Okay. Now to search and replace, which you will need this week for this assignment, you have to do escape, go back to command line mode, do shift colon. Okay. So you have to do a colon, just like it says here. Okay, so take a look at this line here. So colon, then you're gonna do the starting point. So you want to search and replace from letter 1, so from the first line, comma, to the end of the document, and the symbol for the end of the document is the $sign. And then you want to search, so it's an S and then slash. So what are you searching for? In my case, I want to search for everything that has dev, and then put another slash, and I want to replace that with everything with instead of dev with device. Okay, and then I'm going to push the slash again and G to do it globally throughout the file. Now if I wanted this to basically ask me to check to see each line before it replaces it, I would put a C. But if I wanted to do it automatically without me having to tell it go ahead, I would just put a G and then hit enter. Okay, so let's take a look at this again. So colon, from line 1 to the end of the document, we want to search for dev, and we want to replace that with device, and we're doing that globally. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter and see. Now it's replaced all the devs with device. Now to go back to dev, I could do escape colon, from 1 to the end, search for device and replace with dev, and do that globally, and it does that. Now if you wanted to go back and not have to type everything again, you could put escape colon and up arrow, and that brings up the last thing you ran. So this time I'm going to change device, dev to device, but I wanted to prompt me every time it changes it with a C. See, so now it's right here, and it tells me, do I want to change that one? I could say yes, that one yes, that one yes, that one no, that one yes, that one no, that one yes. And then if I wanted to do it all, the rest, then I could put an A, and it does the rest. Okay, so that's basically that. Then the last thing you need to learn about BI is how to save changes and how to quit. To save changes, you do colon and W to write the changes, and if you wanted to exit, you could put a Q, a lowercase q, and that will save the changes and exit. If you don't want to save the changes, you could put not and then a Q. So not to write, but do exit. Okay, and that it shows that here. So to save changes to the buffer is write, W. Save changes and quit VI is WQ. You could save the changes to a new file, put W and put the name of the new file. Quit without saving, again, it's Q and the exclamation. And that's all you need to know. So I'm gonna put Q and the exclamation, not to save, and I'm gonna exit. Okay, so that's VI. So now let's take a look at a few commands that you're gonna use throughout the semester when you log into your Linux system. The first one, which I've already used without saying anything, is ls. ls basically lists the directory contents. So if I simply do an ls, it will tell me all that there's a file called week1.txt. But ls is not enough. You need to run some parameters with ls to see all the files, because ls by itself won't list the files that start with a dot. And in Linux, there's a lot of configuration files that tend to start with a dot. So to do those, you have to do ls minus lah. The important one here is the a. L is to be long to display a lot of the other information, and H is to show, I think it's kilobytes, and it tells you, it's an easier way to see how big the file is. But A is the big one there. Okay, so there, now you can see that long, because it's showing me all this information. A shows files that start with a dot, and K just gives me the size in a number that I can understand. Okay, so here you can see that this directory has a file called bashrc, and when you log in through SSH, it executes your shell. And in most Linux systems, the default shell is, if you do echo $shell, which is the environment variable shell, it will tell you that my shell is bash. And the bash shell is very powerful, and it has a lot of tools you can use, but let me show you some of them. If you want to go to run the command that you just ran again without having to type it again, you could use the up arrow and look at your previous commands, or then you could do down arrow to go back. Okay, so this is how you look up commands that you ran previously. Okay, now to save to configure your bash shell, you can edit the .bashrc text file. So let's take a look at that file, vi.bashrc. Okay, in here you can add something called an alias, and what an alias does is basically it's another way to execute a command without having to type the entire command. You could just give it an alias. So for example, I could put alias ls equals and put ls minus lah. Okay, so now every time I type ls, it will execute actually ls minus lah, which is what I want. I don't want ls, it's not enough for me, so I want that. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. And then since I've changed the .bashrc, which gets read only when I enter the shell, I have to basically reread that file. So to force the shell to do that, you run the command source and then bashrc, and that executes that shell, and it should have my alias now. So I could run the if I do ls, I can see that now it shows me without having to type ls minus lah, it shows me that it runs the command lah, which is what I wanted. Okay, another thing to know about your shell is that you have this command called history, which tells you the history of all the commands you ran. Okay, and that's kept in a file called .bash history. Okay, that's where it keeps that. Okay, so ls is very important. You will use it throughout the semester. Another command which I just used before is man. Man is the command that gives you the manual pages for a particular command and explains you all the different parameters that you can use. So you can run man on any command, and you could see the manual page. So for example, if I want to know all the parameters you can use with ls, I can run man ls and see all the different options I have with ls. Okay, so minus a is for all, so do not hide entry starting with a dot. Okay, let's see where L is. L is going to be long. Use a long listing format. And then H, hopefully H will be here somewhere. Well, I can't find it, but it's in there, and that gives you the size. Okay, so the important thing to know is that if you don't know what parameters a command takes, you could do man on the command and see what it takes, and that will give you the description. To copy a file, you use the cp command. So you can do cp week1 and then put it in the temp directory, which is the directory where we keep temporary files. So this command here will copy my file week1 to the temp command, and I better have write access to the temp directory in order to run this command, otherwise it will error out. To move a file, you do mv, which is move, and then you could do week1 and then put it in temp. So this one here copies it, this one moves the file. Okay. Now another command that's important is who am I. Who am I tells you how are you logged into the system. If you run who am I, you can see that I'm logged in as tlos1. Now let's say I wanted to run some administrator command like the password command to change somebody's password. As my user tlos1, I can't do that because I'm not the root user or the administrative user. So to change to another user, you can run the command su. So you could do su, and then to become root, you could just do su dash, and then put the root password. And now if I do a who am I, now I'm root. But I not only can change users to be another user like root, but I could also be any other user. So I could do su and put any other user. It doesn't have to be root, and that's how I become a different user. Okay. SSH is the SSH client on the Linux shell, and this basically is the same as PuTTY but from Linux. So if you wanted to connect to another system, you can run SSH. I'm going to connect to myself, but you could do this for any system. CSE570e.us.edu, and that will SSH to basically the server. It's not connecting, so let me just ifconfig tells you the IP address of your machine. It's called sbin ifconfig. So in my case, the IP of my machine is this. So I'm gonna do SSH root, or I'm gonna do tlos1 add that. Okay, the first time you SSH to a system, it will ask you to accept the key, and you say yes, and then you put your password. Okay, so now I'm logged back into the same system. Okay, I just did that to show you that SSH allows you to go from one Linux server to another, and you might need to do this throughout the semester to go from this server to your virtual machine and vice versa. SCP allows you to copy a file from this system to another. So you could do SCP week1.htm. I want to copy that to root at, in this case I'm going to use the same server, but you could put any server, and you could do temp. So this will copy my file local disk to this, as this user, to this server on this directory. If I hit enter, it's going to ask me for my password. If I put my password, it will copy it. I'm not going to do that in this case because it's the same server, but that's just to show you that you can do that. Now, throughout the semester, I'm going to give you different URLs to download different RPMs and software that you will need for this class. And one important command to use for that is wget. If you run wget and then an HTTP site, so for example, CSE570e.us.edu, software, VPN client.exe, that will go to this web server using the HTTP protocol to this directory and look for this file, and if it's there, it will download it and bring it over to the current directory that you're in. Okay. The cool thing about wget is that it can do FTP and HTTP protocols. So if you know what the direct link is to your file, you can use that command to get it. To remove a file, you could use the rm command. So let's say bi tulio.txt. I'm going to put some junk in there. Other insert, put some junk in there, save it, exit, ls. There's tulio.txt. If I want to remove it, I can do rm tulio.txt. That removes it. If I do ls, it's no longer there. So that's how you remove a file. And finally, another command that's important, two commands that you'll need are cat and tail. To view a file, to see the contents of a file, you could do cat, and cat will display everything that's on the file. So I don't want to do a big file here, so I'm going to do cat.bashrc, and that will go and show you the entire contents of a file. Now, if you have a huge file and you don't want everything to be shown, but to pause every so many characters, you could do more. So you can do more week1.txt, and then you can press the spacebar to go to the next line, go to the next line, go to the next line, that type of thing. You can also do tail and then week1, and that will show you the last I think 10 lines of the file. Okay, and you could also, if you wanted more lines, you could do tail minus 20 week 1, and that will show you the last 20 lines of the file. Okay, these are the main commands that we're going to use throughout the semester, and I want you to learn these this week. For the assignment, you will mainly use VI to make those edits and search and replaces. And throughout the semester, we're going to learn a few more commands that will be helpful to you when you use your Linux system.